Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
All right, welcome to another episode of Lasorda's Lounge. We are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
I'm Chris.
I'm Steve, and we are here in Peoria, Arizona for Spring Training 2026. We're here at the beautiful Peoria Sports Complex where the Mariners and the Padres train.
We have Padres right behind us, as a matter of fact, taking batting practice, and they are getting ready for a 105 game today. We've had a wonderful weekend here in Peoria, Arizona, not Illinois. And if you have not been to spring training, you really need to come. What an amazing experience. Witnessed Dodgers last night and White Sox at Camelback Ranch. What a treat that was. And we saw Royals and Reds, daytime game. Two games yesterday.
Royals and Reds, where the Royals and Rangers train. It's really cool. It's all of these huge complexes. I think there's 12 fields here where we are right now. And they're maybe 20, 30 minutes apart. There's just thousands of fields in this area, and it's just beautiful. Today is March 8th. It's about 75 degrees out, clear blue skies, and baseball is here.
And Quiet Riot rocking in the background.
I don't know if you can hear the background song, but yes. Quiet Riot is imploring us to get crazy right now.
We're going to come on and feel the noise.
Feel the noise. That's
yes.
Right. Well,
and if you've not felt the noise of spring training, you should, because what an amazing experience. So please join us here next year. We will be here every year after this.
Yeah, we're talking about making this an annual trip. I can't believe I haven't done this. I'm an old man. I'm 37 years old. 20 years ago, and I have not done this before now. So this needs to be an annual trip, Chris.
And Steve, you need to make sure and bring your American Express card, because man, the merchandising, wow, not cheap.
Yes, I think the merchandise is more expensive at the Dodgers camp than it is anywhere else.
I will not comment on the reason for that $1.2 billion payroll additions.
We got to pay our players.
But what great merchandising.
Yeah.
And everyone here seems to be having a great time. You look around, their kids, their 90-year-olds, their families, everyone's enjoying baseball, because you know what? Baseball's an amazing thing. And that's why we're having this podcast to talk about it.
It's really cool to see the family in yesterday afternoon's game decked out in Reds gear, from the baby to the kindergarten age kid to the middle school age kid, as our umbrella blows here. To the mom and dad, all in Reds up and down, sitting next to Padres fans and Yankees fans walking around, and just like every team represented at the ballpark for some random game between the Royals and Reds. It's really cool. It's such a cool environment.
And your favorite team is just wandering about too. So if Padres players or coaches go walking by, we've already had a few walk by. So keep an eye out for them, because Steve's a big fan of the Padres.
That's the funniest joke I've heard all weekend.
We've got the request into Manny Machado. I'm looking.
I'm surprised they let me in here. Yeah. They sold me some water, so I don't know. It's a little sketchy.
$2 for everyone else, $12 for him.
That's right. All right, well, we are focused for this episode on the ABS system, the automatic balls and strikes system that MLB is deploying this season. It's actually been tested in the minor league since 2019, and we thought now is the time to do an episode on the system, and just to give you our takes on how this is going to go this coming season.
We've seen it in action, and it's really kind of interesting, and I love it. And those who have known me for a very long time, like my dear friend here, Steve, know I'm a bit of a Luddite. Technology frightens me at times. I like old books, and I'm one of those people who probably said, bring the DH to the National League. Never. The pitch clock, I really struggled with the implementation of that. I love the idea of a pitcher stalling for as long as he can, and a batter stepping out and digging in and rubbing little dirt. I don't mind a 4-hour game, but I understand why it was sped up. So I really like this is a new technology that will also change the very fundamental nature of the way the game is played. And we'll see it this year in action. So tell us all about it, Steve.
Yeah, so a little history. The system is formerly the ABS system, powered by T-Mobile. That's the actual name of the system. So T-Mobile getting some advertising dollars out of this thing. It's been tested since 2019 in the minor leagues. Since then, so I did a little research, Chris, on this, so I have some numbers to share. Since then, 51% of the calls have been overturned. in the minor leagues
Okay.
for 7 years, or 6 years, so until now. So that's a pretty good sample size. 6 years of data, 51% of the calls have been overturned. This year so far in spring training, 53% of the calls have been overturned. 46% of those calls, when a batter signals, I want you to check that call, 46% of the time it's overturned. When a catcher calls for like, let's check the call, I think that was a strike, not a ball, 58% of the time the catcher's right. So
They've got the
catchers
best
know
view.
if it's a strike.
How can they have the best view and the umpires clearly do not?
I guess you'd have to ask Angel Hernandez about that. I don't know.
Angel and I are not on speaking terms. I've yelled at him often via the TV for choices and decisions he's made.
So maybe we could frame this conversation around positives and potential drawbacks of the system.
Absolutely.
So what do you see as potential? Let's start with the positives. What do you see as potential positives, Chris?
You know me, I'm a teacher. Actually, I think it's a wonderful check for the umpires. And I think there was this kind of, we saw a few moments where umpires would be validated. They make a call, it's very, very close, and the system not only says that they were correct, but it also says, you called that pitch and it was 1.1 inches away. And, that's maybe a significant margin in baseball, but when it's coming in 96 and it's, sliding away, that's hard to see. So we saw a few umps so that kind of almost gloat over the fact, yes, I was right, young man who's trying to make this team.
Right.
That was a ball.
Yeah, and we saw two yesterday, one in the afternoon game that was literally a 1/4 inch off the strike zone. Called a strike. Batter asked to check it, and it was indeed a ball by a 1/4 inch. And then in the evening game, we saw a strike called that was, a ball called. Wait, which was it? It was a strike, and the batter called it, and it was a full 1.5 inches off. So, some are closer than others, but the point is, we want to get the call right.
The amazing thing was we also saw a call from a pitcher in the 9th inning. I did not think they would have challenges available by the 9th inning. So Steve, how does that work in terms of who calls it, when they can call it, how it can be implemented? Is there a limit?
Yeah, so each team gets 2 possible calls during the game. You start with 2. During the game, you can use as many as you want. However, if you're wrong, if you call and check the call and you're incorrect, or you're wrong, it goes against you, you lose one. So you keep the call if you're correct. So let's say you're a batter and you get called a strike and you say, no, that wasn't a strike, I want to check that. And it turns out it was a ball. You retain that, I guess, what are we calling it? Request, I guess. You retain that request, so you keep your 2. But if it turns out it was a strike, sorry, you lose one.
Hey Steve, I'm going to challenge something.
Okay.
My breakfast this morning, that energy drink that I thought was a coffee, can I challenge it now? Because man, it's starting to kick
Sorry,
in.
Too late. You got it. Well, it's too late because you have to make the call. You have to make the challenge right away.
2 seconds.
2 seconds. You have to do it immediately. And part of that reason is that the MLB doesn't want the dugout to be involved in whether or not the batter or the catcher or the pitcher, who are the only 3 people on the field who can request the call, by the way, we don't want any influence from the dugout. So let's say that there's something in the clubhouse, a TV in the clubhouse. They don't want the clubhouse to be able to signal the field. Yeah.
Wait,
question that.
Are you telling me Major League Baseball teams would signal things from the dugout to the playing
Houston
field?
Astros.
Okay. I didn't think that happened in the fairness of this game.
Yeah.
What I love about it is even today when we have we want to get the calls right. That's important. The game, we've both witnessed horrific calls that have changed World Series. That they're so egregious in the nature of that call. And I get frustrated sometimes watching a game today when, you will wait for did you leave the tag upon there? They look to the dugout, the manager's looking back, he's trying to get whatever feed it may be, and finally he does this, and then there's a long delay. What I love about the ball strike system here is it's quick, it's immediate, it immediately goes up to the scoreboard, the crowd knows what it is in seconds, and a decision is made. And I think that works. If we're trying to speed the game up, this speeds the game up and it gets it more accurate. Even the Luddite that I am, I found it to be compelling and interesting.
So if you've ever watched tennis, and I know we watch a lot of tennis, Chris, the US Open has had this working for probably about a decade, where you see an almost instant recall of the play, of where the ball landed, was it on the line, and just to the millimeter. Like if that ball hits the line and it's 1 millimeter on the line, you can see it using this sort of a similar
Hawkeye.
system. Yeah.
And
Hawkeye,
Steve,
that's right.
you cannot be serious. We turn it into drinking games too when you watch it. If you're right, everyone takes a drink of whatever beverage you have. Makes it even more enjoyable for the entire crowd. And I think the same thing will happen for baseball, because we want to have that energy, packed into a stadium, which is what we've seen here at spring training. People have been excited about baseball, and I think the implementation of this only makes it more interesting. And there are even cooler things too, I think, that it does, that I certainly want to. And again, I seem to be in favor of this, and I'm shocked because, again, I hate designated hitters in the National League.
I'm with you. I'm a traditionalist too, typically, but I like this one. So the other part of this that's important, with the dugout not being able to influence this system, is that there's going to be, moving forward, a 9-second delay in the TV feed compared to what's on the field. So that's new. There's going to be a 9-second delay. The other element to this that MLB is changing, that actually we're kind of missing out on. Some broadcasts last year were able to spot the ball on that little box that's in front of the batter that shows you where the pitch landed. So that box is staying there on the broadcast, but the location of the pitch would come in and you would see for a second where the pitch landed. That's going away this year. And some teams had it so dialed in that it would show next to the dot the speed of the pitch and even the type of pitch.
Yes.
So it would say like 93 four-seam fastball. That's going away. So all we're gonna have is the grid, and you'll see the actual pitch, but no dot for where the pitch landed. So that's a change for this year as well.
I like that. Although it was kind of fun to say, oh, that's a two-seamer or a four-seamer, or that's a slider or a sweeper that is so different from a slider.
So we should have less arguing, right? If you remember last year, the Kyle Schwarber moment where he just loses his shit at the end of the game because he gets called, rung up for a ball, ball that should have been ball 4. The endless highlights from the aforementioned Angel Hernandez, that's probably going to go away.
As is Angel Hernandez, who's no longer in the league. And we can certainly dismiss the Eric Greggs and Joe West and Angel Hernandez, all of these umpires that have been traditionally horrible. I say this as a Braves fan. Eric Gregg, I still have nightmares of that Levon Hernandez 15 strikeout masterpiece where apparently he was Cy Young and Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver rolled into one and he never threw a single strike.
The 27-inch wide play for the Game 7 of that 97 World Series.
Still hurts.
All right, let's talk about the ABS zone, how they figure out this zone. So the top of the zone before this year has always been, and the bottom of the zone has always been a static box. So it's same size for everybody. This year, during spring training, they're measuring every player's height. And so the top of that box, of that strike zone box, is going to be 53% of the player's height. It's actually 53.5% of the player's height. And the bottom of the box will be 27% of the player's height. So, for example, as we were talking about yesterday, Jose Altuve's box is going to be smaller because he's a little man compared to, say, Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, who's 6'4", 6'5".
Because Shohei Ohtani is apparently 15 feet tall in baseball terms, because that's the way he's been playing, like an absolute giant. So, for instance, Steve, you're 6'1", I'm 5'9"-ish and a little tiny bit with squat little legs. Your strike zone would be very different than mine because you're tall and have long legs, and so therefore I can kneel down and perhaps, not have to swing because my swing's terrible.
Exactly. There's no challenges if a position player is pitching. So when the Dodgers send Kike in to mop up the 9th inning, there's no challenges.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I love most about this though, Steve, finally, honesty in baseball. All of these players who have been over-reporting and under-reporting now will know exactly how tall they are. Alex Bregman,
Right.
I'm talking to you. You're not 6'1", you're 5'9". You're my size.
Right. One last element of this this is going to be a bridge to maybe the not so positive elements of this is, where is that box exactly? Where does that box exist? So where is it in the plane of the swinging area of the player? The answer is it's dead center in the middle of the plate, of home plate. So if you imagine that box, where is it in the depth of the swinging area of the player? It's right in the middle, dead center of home plate. So remember that as we go into the next section of maybe things that aren't so great about this, or things we're going to look for this coming year that will be challenging.
Well, I did think that berating Alex Bregman was actually positive. I thought that was always a positive thing.
Cheers
but I
to
do,
you, my
I do
friend.
apologize for bringing down the tone of this with very specific players.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Anytime we get to bash in a 2017 Astro, I'm all for it.
All of our Mariners fans, Dodger fans, Angel fans, Padre fans, I think everyone. I hear cheers around the complex over the Alex Bregman beratement.
All right, so being baseball traditionalists, let's talk about how a catcher can manipulate a game by framing a pitch. And is that going to change now that we have this ABS system?
It is an art. I mean, if you really think of the greatest catchers that we've seen, to get that last little bit. So Tom Glavine is this far off the plate and wants to move this far off the plate.
Yeah.
That catcher, again, Javi Lopez was his personal catcher. He was very good at framing that pitch and just getting that slight little bit. So it does take out some of the theatrics of the game.
Thinking about Glavine and Javi Lopez too, they would buy the corner in the beginning, and as the game went on, they had a way of sort of leasing more and more and more until pretty soon a full baseball off the plate was a strike in the seventh and eighth inning for Glavine. I think we're going to lose something there, and there's an art and kind of makes the game interesting to watch the pitcher and catcher work the umpire over the course of the game, and I think we're going to lose some of that.
I've been doing that with my waistline for years, and it's an art form, and you just expand a little bit further and a little bit further. Honesty.
Yeah, honesty.
I like it. But it does take something away. And I'm curious, like how Steve, how well do you think this is going to measure? Let's say you have just this nasty, wicked, curveball, slurve, slider coming in, darting, high angle across the plate. You think it's going to be able to accurately catch that? Where again, oftentimes it's not where the catcher catches it; it's where it crosses the plate.
That's right, and this is where the location of that vertical plane comes into play, because you get these big leaguers with really sharp breaking balls. Think like Sandy Koufax or Bert Blyleven that has that 12-6 curve, and you're aiming to catch the front part of the plate, right? You got a batter that in the back of the batter's box, and you just want to catch the front part of the plate with your curveball. Now that front part of the plate, is that been taken away from the strike zone? So now our pitcher's going to have to throw that curveball more, deep in the swing zone to get it called strike. I'm not sure how that's going to work.
The cool part about being at spring training is for the prices you pay, you're able to see, a pitcher whip off just this wicked breaking stuff, and as a fan, you sit there and you think, I don't see how you hit that. You throw in a Clayton Kershaw, you throw in a Steve Carlton, their stuff, Tim Lincecum, their stuff was so nasty, that just breaker. It'll be interesting to see, like if they have to change that. I would not like to have the accuracy of the call, because I love a good Uncle Charlie.
Right.
That's my favorite pitch. To see a 98-mile-an-hour fastball blow by someone, fun.
Yeah.
But to see them paralyzed by that wicked, spinning stuff, if this takes away from that, and I don't think it will. Because we're talking again, two challenges per game, maybe a few more if you're correct. So I don't think pitchers will relearn how to throw that.
Yeah.
They know it's just too devastating.
Yeah, I mean, a good pitcher is going to figure out how to work the corners and how to make that work for him. When we were kids and we talked about Pete Rose's name came up yesterday, and maybe not in the best of light, but do you remember Pete he would slide up in the batter's box as the count got deeper because you want to try to cut off the angle of the breaking pitches, right? I remember Brett Butler used to do that too, that little slap hitter that the Dodgers and Indians and Giants had.
You don't just move up. Your first at bat, you move up and you start to wipe away the line with your foot.
Right.
And if you don't successfully do it, you have your teammates walk up there and do that in those early part of the innings. Because if you can erase that front part or even that back part, now you've got something. So for hitters like Pete Rose, who had such great hands, and I would bet on him every time to get a hit.
Right. So
you see what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. He bet on himself to get a hit too. But you take a guy like, it's so negative to talk about Pete Rose, but let's say Brett Butler,
the greatest hitter of all baseball,
4,630 hits or whatever. But so Brett Butler would, as the count went deeper into the count, he would move up in the batter's box because he's trying to cut off the angle. It's all about angles and inches, right? So if you're way deep in the batter's box and you got an 0-2 count, you're more likely to swing through a breaking pitch than you are if you're up in the batter's box. You can cut off that angle. And so I'm just curious of how this is all going to play out with pitchers having to throw it more deep to sort of catch the vertical plane that's now moved back. I don't know, this changes a lot of strategy if you're a hitter.
But the strategy is always changing. I mean, you mentioned like a Brett Butler, or a Pete Rose. They would move up as well too to set up that ability
Even
of
Tony
that.
Gwynn.
Then they had that quick little drag punt down the first,
Yeah.
which you don't see anymore because everyone's wanting to hit the home run.
Yeah.
But there's such amazing athletes on the field today that you could see these guys with these blazing speed who could do that and implement that in their game, and then you have a runner on first base more often. So it'll be interesting to see as the game evolves to not only electronic changes like this, but even the athleticism that allows them to do that, right? Because now we can measure the spin on a slider like we couldn't do when Steve Carlton was throwing it, right? So you can change those with the game through metrics. So I like the changes. I think there may be small alterations in how the game is played, but I think it's going to make it more accurate. It's going to make it more fun, and players will adapt. That's what they do. These are the best baseball players in the world. They'll adapt.
Well, tell us what you think in the comments, and like and subscribe to the show. We appreciate your viewership and listenership, and thank you for those that have already subscribed. We would love to see you here in the future, so thanks a lot, and appreciate you watching. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And Steve, we are just a few weeks away from actual baseball games that count. And we will be having our last season predictions very soon.
I can't wait to go to that first game at Chavez Ravine. You walk out and the grass is so green. The smell of the hot dogs and the grass.
Here's your Dodger dog right here.
It's heaven. It's just heaven. Peace.